My name is Al Kuiper, Eldon Kuiper, full name, and went to Dordt College, graduated from Dordt College, and graduated from Calvin Seminary, and just retired from 40 years active ministry, and living now in Orange City. One of the things that I remember as a kid, elementary school, is coming home from school, probably be about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we were always had some chores to do on the outside, milking cows and peeping cattle and pigs and chickens and sheep and everything else. But before we did that, we would sit by the radio and listen to the Lone Ranger and Superman and Sergeant Preston from the Yukon. Not all of them at the same time, because we only had about a half an hour before we had to go outside again to do the chores. That was really, I suppose, our introduction, to radio communication. But I think something that just kind of struck me is that we had what you call a telephone, a party line telephone, and there was probably 5 or 6 neighbors on the same party line. And what was kind of interesting is that whenever our phone would ring, our number was 2 shorts and a long. And but anyway, if you listen closely, you could hear a little click when we picked up the telephone that some of our neighbors were were listening in on our conversations. And I would imagine that was really back then in the early 1950s, kind of a form of mass communication. The telephone was sort of the community party line, but I think we always knew who it was listening in on our conversations, and but those 2 things, party line telephone and radio entertainment. We got our first television then I think in 1956 or 1957, and I think one of the things that we enjoyed was Saturday evening, after all the chores are done, kind of end of the week, having popcorn and television as sort of our Saturday evening entertainment. And I would imagine, because it was so new and so innovative, that we just really thought that was the greatest thing in the world at the time. I still remember that we got our first computer, a TRS-80 color computer, Tandy Radio Shack. And that was just an awesome little machine. I think it only had about 64, not gigabytes, kilobytes perhaps. But anyway, we did a lot of things with that, and I think they're probably quite valuable now. And I think one of the things I remember is our son, after his graduation from Dordt College, he spent about 6 years in China teaching English in some of the universities around there. And I think the first year that he was in China, all our communication was overland mail. And that just took a long time, I think at least 3 weeks. His first year, by the time that he had spent his 5th or 6th year in China, we were on the internet and we could communicate back and forth. Just in the span of about 5 years, just to see the incredible advance in technology of communication from overland mail to once in a while a telephone call that was kind of difficult to make a connection to internet communication. And just to reflect upon that, I mean, that was just amazing that we could be on almost an instantaneous communication by way of internet, just in the span of about 4 or 5 years. Mass communication, just in terms of television, I think is just an incredible influence. A lot of it is beneficial, but certainly some of it is rather, I think, a cause for great concern, that there's just a lot of, I think, garbage of some sort on television. I mean, there's really it's very difficult to find anything worthwhile that's educational or life enhancing, to a certain degree. A lot of it is simply entertainment for entertainment's sake, and there's really no what I would call redeeming value to a lot of the programming on television today. I think one of the things that we do enjoy on television is some of the historical documentaries that we watch every once in a while. And we just enjoy that, or nature films of one sort or another, different parts of the world, the vastness, the incredible creation that that is out there, how television is able to bring the whole world right into our living room, and in ways that it can do that, I think that's just awesome. But I think too often it just kind of finds itself entertaining for entertainment's sake, and that's really just a waste of time and energy and talent, I think, in so many ways. And I think it's difficult, really to know how to have mass communication in a sense where you can avoid the adverse consequences of it that can be used for evil purposes, and still have something available in which you can use to benefit mankind in very, very good ways.